Hi everyone and good evening. It's another exciting time on Oguta Roundtable, and today we have a very big man in the studio. We'll be talking to this guy calls himself a legal juggernaut, but we're going to be talking to an academic master in a Professor Obua. Is coming live in the studio with us, and he came highly recommended, and at this time in the country development and Oguta, we are very certain that preparing the next generation of Nigeria is not just infrastructure, but building the minds that will run the next Nigeria. But someone said that the problem we have in this country is not Nigeria, but Nigerians. And I always say on this program that people cannot give what they don't have. We need to make deliberate effort to develop the minds and the hands of the next generation of leaders. Until that is done, we'll just be running around in circle. So, Oguta around the world, please permit me to welcome Professor Obua to Oguta Roundtable. Prof, welcome to Oguta Roundtable, sir.
Thank you very much.
Biko kenen inde Oguta na no Oguta igwakwa onye ibu na ogbe.
Okay. Obua bụ Oshiji Damanze. Ide nga anaka anama. Dibani na nanye very next Obua. I'm a professor of animal science. I'm an agriculturalist and fish farmer.
Wow.
I'm a man of nine. I'm a Nachi. Mrs. Mori Obua Munyem and Tukudo.
Wow. Okay, so Prof. Okay, very good. Prof, now with a round table, if I name and every episode, bu iju ajuju nga anyeshi a yaka to develop an Oguta meshi. And over the past few years, we've been talk, pockets of talks here and there. But to do ani chorokani ni ne yikota konu to build Oguta and by extension build Nigeria, because other communities will copy it and it will eventually reflect on the overall development of Nigeria. So Tata, even maybe the Juma Ibu, back in the good old days. Can it be no go do zonu? What was some of those things Mera in the before Ejinakwa good old days, in contrast to Ife Meja now Oguta will do?
Okay. What they do is that actually good old days. Makana Omaka then after the good days. So some of them can take bracket. In fact, what the interested in, I would be interested in. So, yes, you see a lot of young people, they are so committed to what they are doing. They want to be engaged, During holiday, they might have spent, one or two things to help themselves. That or probably assisting themselves to have some skills that enjoy the more segment to probably before the last no. No matter wait to make it to the people I more than one. Anything for you. You brand one. You for you. It's all the way I'm not to be here. Then I'm going from the thing I do. So you are not going. No, I tell you, tell them I'm doing it. I say, you know, because you know. So, you know, I think you know, you can them, if you need them. I'm going I think you're going to I think you cannot get. So, they come out in the he get back to you. Students of remember when you say, our parents. They don't care. They don't care. And you have a mistake there in the so they know what to take for all my saying is that I have done now. I'm not in any category. You know, I do you if you can now, my people to you. I don't know if you say, come on, now, you then get married to your area, you now, you're different. That is, those are the major things. Then they will this black light and the other thing I do the work, very common. That's another thing, very common. Everybody in the world, or according to that's not more. But all these drugs, teenage drugs, teenage drugs, wasn't very common. And part of the problem is the use of these teenage drugs. They have affected and kept the youth captive and keeping the populace captive. So all that the major behavior of that person
okay, no bui, Kiniki Ashi bu the main cause why things have turned out this way. Obu na baba madinakbu, kobu na ifo jinakbu adidinko.
Semiraya, semiraya dingena, obaroba. But one of the major, one of the major reasons to say the dingena na, the market goes to report teacher, you are now going to. It's one major reason. Then the other one is na. Aku makai dengan itu, nah parents itu ya, aku tak tahu di sebenarnya orang major ada, itu itu di siapa? Itu bagaimana dia kita dia, bisa dia kasih itu. They will tell you, they will tell you, So, those things, so not drug home, how to do things that our part, you don't do things that effective. So, these are some of the things. Or if you have not at the so maybe that's it, so they can help you in that. So that is part of the problem. A lot of them do not listen to counsel. So,
okay, my question, Udu, will the problem now be Oyabu, parents, teachers, or the entire institution of government the responsible for some of this decay? And then I revert to the situation.
Yes, I'm a voter there. If you know, and they don't say what. I'm a voter there. But a lot lot of problems is as a result of upbringing from homes, and then secondly, the society. The society at all times. As in most of the time, from parents, who perform as an parent, the parents don't have to teach them word, okay? Then when they come out of the society, the question is, you are their role model, they are also what to make money. Whichever means they don't care, So that is part of the government. But the government that are to role to play. You only know that the hospital where you floor or something you are not the chief of China, but you the government are not taking enough provision, and that has been focused to the field of the society, especially in which society now Kakakra suppose in any answer, Kanya, Diconia, need you to this onion, can I go she, get a good on it, but to know about Jeep Nova, can I go she, Nita, It's just like, a lot of kids, not kids, even adults, are into betting, they spend a lot of man hours and time and resources on betting games. The question is, should that be a source of living? That is a growing menace, and the government doesn't seem to know or want to look into that, So, if now go Shiburuna, yes, bringing up by parents contributes, but the major problem is that the society, the ills are as a result of how the society is developing and taking, the wrong end of what they are seeing in the society, and the government are not looking at a way to stop the youth from derailing. Try the youth gainfully employed, gainfully engaged, again, some governments are trying by, trying to do skill acquisition and all those things. But the question is, when you have hundreds of thousands of youths and they are doing skill acquisition for 2,000 or 1,000, which it is something, but it is not far-reaching. It is not far-reaching.
That's a very, very good one, especially if a bet na irotoraka nkenu abruja na like the opium of the masses, because so many things are guarded well in the country, and nkenu abruja na where people are going to bury their hope. Ibochina agongere olulanya de budi madu. So these people have gone to use this betting now as a means of succumb to themselves, to at least have something to look up to. My question is, Oguta being self-reliant and unabudin the government and you most of the time, how can we, especially this if a bet now and then these skill acquisition, because nobody now in skill, there have been so many skill acquisition of opportunities, and in skill acquisition, no, most of them are not even looking at the skills, they are looking at the final end of the skill acquisition. They can get rice, the annual aboard dinner, ojibu rice, no, ogurano na abonu, or happening rice, Germany onga. That's what they do with the skill acquisition. In your skill acquisition, they are just waiting for the last part of empowerment. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of them are not bothered about the skill. They just want that immediate gratification. So, and one of the core this and somebody, this is a non-Igbo, was saying about why Igbos are doing very well in the Nigerian society is the delayed gratification. But Udu, Umakani are no longer interested. I just went to a few schools just recently, and the schools are even bragging that they can help their students cheat in WAEC so that all their students will pass. And I was pained because I know an issue I had with one of my daughter, and I was called by one of the teachers. I can send anywhere 50,000 so they can aid her in school. And I felt so insulted from the soul of my heart that a school can encourage children in secondary school, institutional based cheating. What passes here by university with those results? How can they perform in the university? They will now go now and start corrupting the lecturers. Corrupt corrupt I mean,
Yes.
if you are a lecturer and half of your students are not doing it, you know that the school or department will want to blame you that how can majority. But unfortunately, it's a relay. What has been passed to you are rotten eggs. And will you now say because they are rotten, you throw away the baby and the bathwater? But it takes a serious decision now to get things right from the nursery school, from the primary school, before even secondary school. My question is, Dena Nga, the whole of Oguta, Yeshi Yakudu, let's start correcting what has gone wrong. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, that's a very big question. Very big question in the sense that the decadence in education is far-reaching, and part of the problem, though, when the government Wopumaka a lot in primary education and encourage private schools to get into primary education and later secondary. Those private schools had one interest: to make money. They are not interested in the real aspect of educating our children and ensuring that they learn, they are taught well, and they can stand on their own feet in external exams. And that culminated to the problem now secondary schools, and that has moved into the higher institutions. You know, if you are teaching a child in the university, you realize that the child doesn't even know the basics, and the tendency of is to try to cheat and try to find a way of paying so that they can pass. You know, another assignment in a student in university now, they give it out to people to go and write for them. You know, projects and things like that. So the problem is really big. But however, in order to solve it, I'm happy that now Oguta, now some individuals have taken the bull by the horns, trying to organize talks, extramural lessons, preparing and teaching students, you know, computer and some skills. That is a very, you know, good development. Because again, yes, I don't know any extramural lessons, but computer wasn't very common then. And this is a computer age. Learning things about computer and what ICT is very necessary for the young and upcoming Oguta son or daughter. So that aspect is probably a way out, you know, trying to educate them in ICT, because going forward you will see that the role that ICT will play in our nearest future. With ICT, even without university education, you could be making more money than a graduate if you are able to learn good ICT techniques and programs you could be earning good money, you could be working from your home and be paid well, and you could be employed by some companies that can pay you. So that is one aspect that we have to look into. The other aspect is really troublesome because it needs committed individuals who can come together and set up outfits to engage our youth in terms of employment. They say that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. When one wakes up in the morning and has a place to go and perform a service and will be paid at the end of the month, the person might not have time to go and start, doing some illegal things and get into crimes, be involved in crimes and things like that. So, but the problem is the infrastructure for setting up businesses in Oguta, or companies, if I should use that word, are not there in the real sense of it, especially when you look at electricity. I have realized that if you go around, you see that whatever type of business that you want to set up, you need electricity. So that was why I was very glad when some individuals came up and they were making very drastic and concrete plans and finding ways of bringing electricity back to Oguta. That would help so that everybody can see, okay, nje make a poultry farm, I will be sure that now it produce my own feed. My feed mill can use the electricity and grind the materials and compound it and bring it out. Or when actually set up fish pond, then you can set up a fish pond and you need to pump water every day. You cannot afford to pump water using generator. It is too expensive. And another problem where this will come in is when you even empower some youth and they need to set up a business, one or two businesses. Most of the time they need electricity. Now, how much will you be making when you use probably 5,000 or 10,000 naira to buy fuel and generate your own power? It becomes imperative that power is rudimentary to any type of small-scale business or any type of enterprise that you want to set up in Oguta. Because that has actually discouraged a lot of people. Another problem that is discouraging people is stealing, and in Oguta, there are a lot of kids. Whenever you place something there, before you know it, they've started vandalizing it. So for you to set up an industry or bring people into your outfit or set people up, you must make sure that you have security, people that will be guarding the setup that you intend to do. So those are the ways. The other ones, but maybe Omaka Sheba no way teaching. Okay, if we venture email, support, then they start looking out for one or two people, who can give them the support. But the problem now is the economic situation too. It's not helping matter because for you to give that level of support, you must have some level of resource. And the number of people who are in a position to do that, to give that kind of support, is dwindling by the day because of the economic situation. So that is probably a way forward, the way we can start solving this problem.
Prof, I want to actually say something, and with this also I'm issuing a public apology to Obua and Kwapa, because I badmouthed him because of two Oguta youth when I got into Oguta, who complained that he wasn't willing to help and give opportunity to the local community. And I took it up with Ernest, and Ernest gave me a project, and I involved a few. Instead of bringing people from outside, I involved people within Oguta. And I can tell you, it was the worst mistake of my life. But like I said, this is the first time I'm even raising the topic. I've issued a public apology to Obua Ernest Nwapa, because I now knew what he was talking about. I didn't know it could be that bad. And I also had another talk recently with another Obuagu, and it was still the case of empowering the Oguta youth, and he told me some of his experience. That means that the problem is not even that people are not willing to help, like you said. Is whether if somebody needs assistance to support his business, if you give him that money, will he use it for what he has begged you, and you have carved out that kind of money to give them? Can they even be accountable? And the answer so far has been a very big no. So the question, and we are coming back to you, Prof. I'm adding my 1 hour. Yes, if adding for you, Tata. But I don't bring you, Tata. If we have to bring you again, we'll bring you, because it's what Nigeria needs now is you. He appreciate that these days, I will feed you and your family, because only by the food in Anka, feed madam, you know now, because food is now.
You can't. If that is a joke, you know. Any Nigerian needs to feed you and your family.
Okay, before you put your family. Why chere ini muno si na ndo ọzọ ka nọkwa n'ụzọ na-abịa. So the question is this now. It's a very challenging one. How can we turn around the minds of our young people to learn accountability? And especially now, Udu, with the internet age, when the world has become a global village, we can't pretend anymore. Anything we are not doing well, people now, if I have you now, we are building our One TV Owerri studios, and we are bringing people from outside Nigeria and from Port Harcourt to go and do a work that is going on in Owerri. One meter, they are going to one radio Oguta to go and work, and because of this kind of thing, getting people to commit to a job and finish it. My twin brother Jerry Rono, somewhere in Imo State, and you brought people from outside the country, artisans. Because when you bring them, they concentrate, focus, and they do these things well. And the world is now a global village. When so many things cannot be done online. And if our youths are not willing to do it, foreigners are taking over their jobs around the world, and they can't even be disciplined enough to do the job of those foreigners in other parts of the world. So what they don't understand is the calamity that is awaiting them. As the world becomes more global and open, the people are stealing the little jobs left, and they are not developing enough skill and discipline to compete in a global market. I can boldly tell you that most of the money I used to do what I'm doing, I'm made from outside Nigeria while being here in Nigeria, because I have enough discipline to manage projects that can be just as if I was anywhere else in the world. Now that means that young people in Oguta, no matter how remote they are in, can now take over responsibility and make the same money in the Obodo you go and make it, if only they can discipline themselves. So the question is, Unuzo Kaniye Bidobiko, before we start bombarding you with the one of feeding ourselves, because Udu Buja a very serious problem. People are cooking flour. Uzaya kuja flour bugu kana kudu. We are now looking up for edible flowers, okay? The one that can beautify our stomach, because our world devotion, our one on Africa will do.
Yes, that's a very challenging question indeed. The point is that for one to really be gainfully employed or useful in an outfit, there must be something that you are giving. There must be something that people want that you are giving. You know, you must have something that is different from the generality of people. You know, that is why a lot of people probably run and say, okay, I'm a university. It is not enough to be a graduate now. You know, some graduates are not educated. The world is tending to skills. What can you do? What can you impact? What service can you render? I know somebody that read crop science in the university, but what he's using to feed today is breeding of fishes, fingerlings. She produces it.
Yeah.
And that is her mainstay, and she produces and supplies to people in thousands and thousands of fingerlings. Yeah. She should not read that in the university. She just attended courses. People need to learn things that they just need to go and learn things, new things. Go for courses, go for training that can empower them, that can enable them provide service. For you to earn money, you must determine what people actually need, and then you try to provide that service. You become gainfully employed. You don't. This man that said he went to a village and realized that there was no cold room in that village. There was no cold room. And he targeted and set up a cold room in that village. And that cold room was serving so many villages around that village. And that made him rich. So, with buying and selling, if you can determine what people need, where they need it, you can provide that service of marketing. Part of the problem is not even production. You know, part of the problem is marketing. There have been cases of people producing and there is no market. And for you to be able to make money, you have to move that product to a distant place. So somebody that will fit that niche, that will play that role, will make more money than the producer of that product.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to look at, what am I willing to do? What can I do to become self-sufficient? What can I do to become independent? And that is the thing. Some will involve your training, your education, improving it to the extent that you will learn new skills and use those new skills to give some service. Some will involve you are providing a service that is not common, and that will serve as a way of your earning a good income. Some will involve buying and selling. There are people that, but the point is that you have to learn a skill. Somebody was talking about, fashion designing. These jobs will pay, even furniture making, if you give it your all, if you are dedicated. A lot of our youths are not dedicated. If you dedicate yourself to any aspect of human endeavor, you will definitely will excel. You will definitely will succeed. So the key thing is that people should learn how to be dedicated, to any endeavor, any activity that they will choose. It's not right for you to just be hovering and hoping that manna will fall from heaven.
We are not in essence Israel. No man falls from anywhere now. So people will need to be able to deliver a service for you to be useful, and then you can become gainfully employed. You know, even if somebody does not employ you, you employ yourself. But there should be that dedication. It doesn't come easy because Rome was not built in a day. With dedication, whatever the God created a human being, you know, in such a way that if you are committed. Let me tell you a short story. When I graduated from the university, there was no job. So, but there was this book I read by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. Within weeks I read that book, my life changed. I was able to go out there and got 2 teaching appointments. I realized that, what am I doing at home? My services are needed there. And the way I presented myself, they gave me those 2 jobs. I told them, look, I will come on certain days, and I was handling 2 jobs before I was able to get a better job. And I left those teaching appointments. You really need to read. A lot of them are not reading. There are a lot of books. There was this book I read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. When you read those books, you change your mind setting that things are achievable, that you can move mountains if you are dedicated. A lot of our youth, they lack dedication in most aspects of their life, and that is a big problem that we start tackling, you know, by talking to them and having programs where they can come together and you expose them to opportunities that are bound in our country, even with economic hardship.
Now, Prof, now back to the main crops of the bringing you Tata, is how can we work towards feeding ourselves? You do them flour, because the place they want to beautify is no longer their environment. They want to beautify their stomachs with food. How can everyone get involved in farming today? Because before now, the ratio of our income to food was very far, but now 50% or even more of people's earning now go to feeding themselves, staying alive. How can people get involved in farming, from the very basic to even commercial farming?
Yes, this is a very pertinent question. The point is this. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
The point is this, that food is very, very important today in everyone's life, and it is very expensive in the country as of now. A few years back, people were using a small percentage of their salary to feed, but now it forms the bulk of a large percentage of their salary. The bulk of the money they earn is used in feeding. One of the ways that people will help themselves is this. One, I do not advocate that in Nigeria today there is what they call side hustle. You know, you are a teacher and you are doing something other thing to make small money, but they enable you earn more. But the fact still remains that you have to still go to the market to buy food, and food is expensive. Now, one of the ways that one could try to help himself is utilizing their environment, utilizing the land close to them where they are living, and then lands that are a little far away from them, they can decide to plant up the area. Now, there was this information I saw on the internet of people using bags of cement, empty bags of cement, and using this mini set system whereby they get a tuber of yam, they cut the tuber of yam, treat the yam, treat the mini set, and plant it inside those bags. Covered with soil that they've enriched, and keep them on the wall of their fence, right round. And then they'll be watering, giving the nutrients that the plant needs, and they germinate. And after several months, they harvested so many tubers of yam. Then I was thinking, wait, if I can do that and have about 50 tubers,
wow,
no matter the size,
50 tubers will do. One tuber in Japan are 5,000.
Oh, so you realize that if I have 50 tubers of yam, that will probably more than have the number of tubers of yam I can buy for my family to feed. Then another thing I also realized is that people could still plant up their environments. You plant some vegetables, cucumber, pepper, in your compound, and it's not every day that you go to the market to buy vegetable. You can pick them up, and it doesn't necessarily cost a lot. That I do also is to have a piece of land or two or three, as the case may be, depending on their level of resources, where you can plant maize or cassava or cocoyam, as the case may be, or even yam, and then plant it up with mix it up with plantain and banana. In a year, you could harvest so many bunches of banana or plantain. When you look at the cost in the market, you realize that it amounts to something. Then some people who have the energy could also lease 1 or 2 plots or 3 or 4 plots from people. A lot of people have bought land, and the land is there, follow. You could tell them, okay, since now and you plant it up, and before you know it, at the end of the year or planting season, there's something to harvest, especially if the place is fenced and is protected. Because sometimes when you plant in an open place, some people who did not know how and where you or what you spent in planting will go there, to harvest when it is harvest time, or even when it's not harvest time, and that is quite discouraging. But from my little experience, I've realized that planting up the place you are living, or some 1 or 2 lands around you, will definitely help your economy in terms of food. Some people have also gone like setting up a mini poultry, even if it's not much, but at least it could help you in provide small for your domestic consumption, and the little you can sell. But the point is that some of these things you need to probably learn what you want to do. It's not just venture into it without proper learning, so that you won't incur losses, and that would be discouraging. I know people that have set up small poultry and small fish farm, and before you know it, when they need fish, they go there and pick. When they need but they will get when you get exhausted, they can go. Even if you don't know how to start from day old, you can buy from people who keep them maybe up to 3-4 weeks and they sell, and then you buy feed. You can even, with some guidance, be able to provide 1 or 2 things for them to eat from their household, from their kitchen waste, you know. Yes, for your kitchen waste, you can do that. And
for example, another thing I'm also thinking of is just going to add a voice to what you said, is integrated farming. Like if you have poultry, you have a vegetable farm, you can take the output, the droppings from your poultry, and it will become manure for your vegetable farm.
Yes. That is one of the major advantages of integrated farming, mixed crop and animal farming. I'm living now. We have a fish farm, and around the other plots, we allow the fish water to flow into the land, and then we planted it up with vegetables and plantain and banana and things like that, maize when it was the season. And most of the time, Agropa 2-3 weeks, we have best 1 or 2 bunches of plantain, and it's something. And vegetable, we virtually do not have.
Because of my address, Oguta make and gafe, biakwa gene.
You know, so that is quite an experience for me. So I actually know the advantage of integrating, you know, one type of agriculture into the other. And but if you have space, there are some people that have gone, you know, very far into that, whereby you can even integrate or allow animals to be roaming if it is acceptable in your area. I know that in parts of Oguta, people get goats and allow them to roam in the afternoon. Then towards evening they come back. Whatever you can provide for them, kitchen waste you provide, in the morning they move out. You know, if it is applicable in your area, it is good. You know, some people also do it for local chicken, and it amounts to little or no expenses on their part. These are ways that people can help feed their families, and if they have surplus, give you know, relations and friends.
Back to Oguta, how can we improve the fishing industry in Oguta, especially do Obujanda Usana ko Azu Oguta?
Well, the problem is that Oguta has always depended on, you know, the body of water, you know, the lake and our streams. But the problem is that the population of fish and type of fish in those lakes are no longer enough to justify, you know, always going there to harvest fish from its natural environment. And Oguta has one advantage of having bodies of water. One can harness those bodies of water to produce fish. But my problem has always been
compliance.
How can you prevent people from getting into your natural ponds along the bodies of waters, and, you know, protect them from thieves? Because whatever you prevent them. There was a young man I saw, you know, on one platform where was able to build a very nice cage and allowed the cage to be in its natural water, in a body of water. That eliminates the need for water. And because it's a flowing water, there is little or no pollution problem. But one of the things, how will this guy be able to protect that his investment from thieves from getting to the place and stealing his fishes? Because he was feeding them. He bought fish feed, and he was feeding them. So one of the ways that people can do that is to set up a fish pond that is not attached to any body of water. In a small compound, if it's fenced, you set it up, and in 3 or 4 months, you have matured fish for sale. You can dry them, process them, or you can point and kill. There is market for fish. The only problem is the high cost of fish feed. You can also look for ways of getting natural feed, of fishes. Well, that involves some maybe learning how to produce maggots and flies and other things that you can use to feed fish. Apart from fish, you can even grow earthworms or harvest earthworms when you prepare the ground for proliferation of maggots and earthworms. But
if those things in Chinese even the things that the fish even feed on, flies on an earthworm, natama, even dogs a problem to us. They can be, you can even start a what do they call it, fumigation service, and instead of fumigating, you go and pack all the mosquitoes that are disturbing people. Now become a natural fish feed producer.
that's the funny thing about natural feed producer is that there are certain things that under normal circumstances we think, okay, this is fishes will eat them, but when you do not produce, learn what to do about it the wrong way, and you realize, this thing is not working. There's always a difference between what is written in a book and practically what is possible, or what is practically possible. So, in the process of doing some of these things, you learn a lot, and that will help you to progress in whatever that you do.
That I know that the 1 hour I'm a Zudi with your interview, because at this time around going Abuja Messiah, because food is now serious business. Like I said before, it is no longer the days when you hear somebody say, I will feed you and feed your family, for where nobody is ever saying that again, because feeding anybody now is a serious business. So before we let you go, knowing that in Kenabo Nani part 1, we're going to find out time again, and I'll ask the producer to bring you again on this program. And we're also going to beg you to please send some of this knowledge you have and share it with us, and we'll share it on One Radio Facebook page so that people will have steps and some of these videos you mentioned, so that we can start pushing this to people. In addition to teaching people, somebody made a joke one day and told somebody that you are planning for long life and you don't get money, waiting you go chop. And so now the cost of living is now killing the living. I will let you go. Please, what will be your last words for this episode to the Oguta and to our audience around the world on how they can begin to feed themselves, at least the little steps they can start taking now in the next 3 minutes? Because
there was a day I went to Amausa, and I saw the number of goats and sheep that they have there. And what were they feeding them? They were feeding them a variety of crop residues. those northern goats do not feed on green grass. They prefer feeding on dry things.
Yes.
And then most of the goats were looking well. And I said to myself, look at us. We produce a lot of waste from our kitchen. We produce a lot of waste from our farms. We generate a lot of waste from markets. Most of these materials will be useful for feeding animals, for feeding goats, for feeding sheep, for feeding pigs. Years back, as in a dirty animal, or you take it but energy, when it's produced well, is very rich and it's very costly. So we have to look inwards and think of using unconventional materials. If they use the feed human man, they use the feed you, like the new trend in animal nutrition, bullshit, animal production will use, they call it, non-conventional or unconventional feed resources. They use it and feed animals, and they are able to grow. These animals are able to grow to market weight, and they are sold. But the problem is the aggregation of most of these unconventional feed resources. It has not been organized so that you don't have a spot where you can go and pick them. But if you go to markets, you see that a lot of waste vegetables and some of these materials that you could put inside a container, cover it, and after several months you have what is known as silage, which you can use and feed animals, and animals will eat it and be doing well. So our people need to learn new techniques on harnessing feed and feed materials and feed resources to feed our animals, because the cost of feeding animals is the highest single cost in animal production. In terms of yes, you have to look inwards. You might not be involved in all crops. You can choose one or two crops and give it your best, and then you can produce enough to eat and be sell. Even if it's oka you can produce oka all through the year. If you go to some parts of with just irrigation, you can do vegetable dry season vegetable production, and you can generate a lot of money from dry season vegetable production. The only thing you need are seeds, some sticks, and manure, and the water. The only problem has always been distance from farm to house and things like that, But all in all, the way forward is to look inwards and see how you can feed your family with what you have or what you can harness.
Mbona, Prof. Thank you very much. That's the much we're able to take, and thank you very much for coming on the program. We just want to thank our producer Evangeliseni Okori, our sponsors Dr. Felix Okwasha and my auntie May Biani Ani for sponsoring this program, and also to all our regulars and all our listeners and viewers around the world. Thanks for coming on One Radio Oguta Roundtable, Prof. Thank you very much. All right. So until next week, we'll bring you another exciting guest on Oguta Roundtable. Thank you very much, and God bless you.